Alright everyone, welcome back. Gonna be doing another YouTube breakdown video for UFC Fight Island 6. Ortega vs Korean Zombie. So it's a good card. Great main event. Fight with title implications there. Just a recap on this weekend's events. Let me see, pull it up a second. So Bellator Paris / Bellator 248, they had the double card thing. Basically 2 cards on the same day, a couple hours apart. Members got up plus 22 units by going 6-1 on live bet. So if I just go through the individual bets here, 1 second. Let me see. Right, so what thing? Oh yeah. So in the MVP fight, we had a unit on the over 2.5 after halfway through round 1, and then also put 2.5 units on MVP at 1-4 in round 3, because I mean the fight was his to lose there by that stage, and then after that, so both of those hit. Then put a unit on Kieran Clark at plus 175, 7-4, and that came through. And then had 2 units on Berto at 1-2, that came through. And then Diada, we had 2.5 units on him at 7-10. And then the only losing live bet for that card, or losing bet in general for those 2 Bellator cards, was Congo. We took it like plus 140 because the value say was him. But Johnson, he did deserve it. Like, I thought Johnson would win, but I just thought through the fight, because it was in France and stuff, they may give Congo the decision, and he was the value save, but only had a unit on that. So plus 22 units on Bellator Saturday cards. And then just to recap the UFC quickly, we went 1-2 on live bet, or sorry, pre-fight bet. We took let me just check. So I had, yep, there it is. We had a bad one. I just thought he would approach the fight differently. We had Impa 5 units. And then obviously the crazy knockout. You know, he might have still won the fight if the knockout didn't happen. But he didn't really start well, and he didn't look as good as I thought he would, because he didn't really take the fight to the ground or anything. I thought he'd be hitting takedowns on Buckley, but he just was happy to exchange on the feet and ended up getting caught a few times. And then probably the best KO I've ever seen live. The jumping spinning back kick from Joaquin Buckley. So then the other pre-fight bet we lost on the card was 3 units on Big Ben. I just thought, as I said on the podcast, I thought he'd walk Tabura down and really hurt him, and he did in round 1, but he just gassed out. He tried to get him out of there and gassed, and ended up slowing down. Tabura took over, so fair play to him on that one. And then finally, the pre-fight bet that hit on the UFC Fight Island 5 was 4 units on Barboza at early odds of 8-15, which is equivalent to minus 185. So we get in early on him, because I knew he would just destroy Macwan. He was too good for him. And then just in terms of UFC gone there on Saturday, the live betting. So first live bet in it was Cortez in round 1, 8-11. So like minus 170 or minus 8-11. So like minus 130, should I say. And then so that obviously came through. And then the second pre-fight bet was 1.5 units on Ilia Topuria by decision after round 2. And I also had a personal play on that fight of fight to go to distance. So I did just myself because I couldn't tip it out to members in time. And I got that at 4-6. Had like 1.5 units on it. So minus 150. So it came through for a unit profit. And then after round 1 in the Rafael fight, I took like double down on Ben Rafael at odds of 7-10. So minus 130 or something. 2.5 units. So that was the only losing live bet for UFC there. And then in the Barboza fight, we put 5 units on him live on top of the pre-fight bet at odds minus 200, 1-2. And then just put a sprinkle 1.25 unit on Barboza's decision, basically 2-1 it was after round 1. So that obviously came through. And then finally took Corey Sandhagen at the end of round 1. Or no, actually it was in round 2, I think. At odds of 4-6, 1.5 units. So that obviously came through. So overall, plus 7 units on UFC, and obviously plus 22 units on the Bellator. So good weekend, I would say. So just getting beat into this card. First fight at night is not Faris Iran versus Jimmy Malarkey. It is Said Nurmagomedov versus Mark Striegel. Topology just has the order of the card messed up a wee bit. If you notice that, just go to UFC stats page. They always have the right order. But as I say, Said Nurmagomedov, so he has his lone UFC loss against Hani Barcelos in his last fight. And I'm pretty sure he's a big favourite for it, slight favourite. But Barcelos is good. Nothing to hang your head and shame about. He hasn't lost in 6 years, so Barcelos is good. Said, he's a well-rounded fighter. He can take people down. He can exchange with them on the feet. I would say his path to victory here is probably grappling. Striegel's, or actually, sorry, I think the path to victory for Said here most likely striking. Mark Striegel, he is a good submission grappler, so he is. So Said probably looks to keep this one on the feet and stuff the takedowns from Striegel, who's going to be looking to take him down from the start here. And Striegel, we haven't seen a fight in UFC yet. He was meant to fight Timur Valiev there way back in August, but Striegel withdrew from that one, and he's been given a hard matchup here inside Nurmagomedov, so he has. Said's up at, he's up at 135 now. He used to fight at flyweight, and just that wasn't the right move for him. He's a very big guy, so he was huge for flyweight, so he was. He's good size bantamweight now, but you know, he couldn't have maintained to cut the flyweight. So we've seen how good his striking is in the Cardo Ramos fight. Just a big spinning back kick out of nowhere. I just put him down and finished him. But if we just look at the odds here, so Said is minus 410. Personally, I couldn't play that lane. It is far too wide for me, but I do think Said wins here. And if he was around the minus 250 mark, I might have played him, but not at minus 410. But saying that, we'll go with Said Nurmagomedov by decision there in that one. So next up is Maxim Grishin, and he fought his first fight at heavyweight, so he did in the UFC against Tybura, who just won over the weekend. I actually bet Tybura in that fight. I'm pretty sure it says here on Topology that Tybura was a favourite for that one, but I'm pretty sure when I bet Tybura, he was like slight underdog. Almost sure, I'm almost 100%. But Tybura just relied on his grappling there just to mitigate the striking of Grishin. Just grinded him out really, just as he does. But Grisham is like a rangy kickboxer. His hands are decent, but you know he relies on his kicks more. Very strong kicker, very long. He is old enough now, so he is. He's 36. To be making his UFC debut just a couple of months ago there, 36. But as I say, primarily a striker. Antigolov's going to be looking to take him down here just from the jump. Antigolov's wild, so he is actually fully beat Paul Craig so that in that last one where he just gets strangled in round 1, but he just comes out here, looks for the takedowns. In round 1 just comes out like a bat out of hell. If he gets you down and he gets in a good position, you are in trouble while he's fresh, but you know, if he can't get you down, he's fucked. Just like in the Kutlava fight, he couldn't get him down. Kutlava ends up just stuffing the takedowns, wearing him out, and ends up finishing him on the feet. But, you know, Antigulov, he has finished some good guys. He's finished Marcus Rogerio de Lima, so he has. He finished him in round 1, that one. As I say, just doing his usual thing. Round 1, just bat out of hell. You know, he took him down and got him mounted guillotine in that one. And it was a pretty tight squeeze, so it was, because de Lima tapped quick. And then he also did the same in the Christensen fight. That time through a rear naked choke. Antigolov's weird. I think this will be his last fight in UFC, to be honest. So I just think that he has a style where it's not suitable to the high levels in the sport. Definitely not. Because he relies on one thing, just being able to take these guys down from the start. And if he can't do it, it's a very limited skill set. If he can't do it, his cardio ends up letting him down and he ends up getting finished. So, and if you look at his reach, 70.5 for a light heavyweight, that is nuts. Andre Earl's a bantamweight and he has 75-inch reach, which is crazy when you think about it. But as I say, Grisham should be looking to keep this one on the feet, stuff the takedowns, and just, you know, keep this one at distance and just look to put it on Antigulov in the striking department. But the thing is, Grisham is very patient on the feet, so this one is interesting because Antigulov has mostly fought strikers who are mostly boxers, like Kutlava, like Olechechuk. So he has. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares against like a patient kickboxer. In terms of, you know, Grisham being able to finish Antigulov here, but at what time? If you look at the under, it's decent odds at the minute. So I think that's a decent line, so I do the under. But saying that, personally, I don't want to play it because Grisham, he's very patient, so he is. If you watch the two Jordan Johnson fights, he doesn't rush anything, very technical, so it's a clash of styles here, big time. Patience, kickboxer versus fast, bat out of hell grappler. If we're just going off who wins it, I think Grisham wins it. I think he finishes Antigulov here, but the line is a wee bit wide for me. Grisham's about to hit minus 400 here, and I know Antigulov isn't great, but it's just a wee bit pushing it for me. But as I say, Grisham by TK on that one. Can't believe I'm actually saying this, but the value say probably is Antigulov in terms of money line, just. But you know, if you were looking to bet this one, Grisham TKO maybe. Let's see odds. Let me check for you. Where are we? Maximum Grisham. Where the fuck is he? There it is. It isn't up yet. For some reason, like, it's Wednesday night, but it's not up on odds checker anyway. Actually, bet online. We'll check it up and bet online, see what the odds are. So, let me see. Grisham wins inside distance, minus 160. Nah. I mean, I don't know. Not for me, to be honest. Not for me. But if you want to play it, fair enough. Don't blame me. Next up, let me see. Jamie Mullarkey versus Faris Siam. So going in this one, I actually thought Jamie Mullarkey would be a good bet, maybe. So I did. Because he is much more well-rounded than Siam, so he is. But Jamie Mullarkey, he can get a wee bit wild on the feet, so he can. Just watching, his regional pro fights. Can't remember who it was against. He gets strapped on one of these. It's either Teixeira or Brites. It may be Teixeira. He gets strapped on it and stuff. He just gets a wee bit wild in the feet. And then we've seen the Bravradale fight. He's very close to being finished there multiple times, but he toughed it out. Fair play to him, and he did take the fight to Bravradale. He took him down and stuff, and we're increasingly seeing Bravradale is like a top 15, top 10 lightweight. So that's feather in the cap for Jimmy Mullarkey. Just go the distance there and really bring it on to Bravradale, having his moments, dropping Bravradale, taking him down. Even though he did get a beat down that one, but he had his moments, Jimmy Mullarkey, is what I'm trying to say. So he's not an entirely bad fighter. If the fight isn't going well for him on the feet, he likes to take these fighters down, so he does. We've seen that in his regional fights we have, as I say, a Teixeira fight. So if he's not having his way on his feet, expect a double leg. And probably where he is best at is on top. Taking a fighter down, being on top, ground and pound, just being relentless with it. And if they end up, turning their back, he sinks in a rear naked choke, so he does. So for each round, we've seen him actually bet Don match against him, UFC 242. So he's had a year off, he's coming back against that. I'll be honest, like, his last two performances aren't great, so they're not. Don Maj, to be fair, Don Maj didn't want any of Siam's striking, so he didn't want any of it. He just double underhooks against the cage, clinch control the whole fight basically, and takedowns. He didn't want any of Siam's kickboxing there, so he didn't. And then in the scene fight before that, I just thought Siam didn't look great, to be honest. If it's the fight, this boy you've seen, I don't think he's good at all. But so I wasn't impressed with him in them two performances. But if you actually go back and watch some of his other fights, he does look a wee bit better. In the Julio Matos fight, he shows us what his kickboxing's all about. He's like a rangy kickboxer, good kicks and stuff. And he's not afraid to bring it, so he's not. But if we're talking about more well-rounded fighter, it's Jamie Mullarkey. If we're talking about a fighter who you would most likely want to put money on, or who's going to fight for your money, it is Jamie Mullarkey. When I taped this fight, he was minus 120. He's currently, he's currently minus 140 now, so a bit of money's came down on him. Not surprised at all, to be honest, because I think he is good. Or I think he's good in this spot, should I say. Because I'm not entirely sold on Siam, so I'm not. His striking's good, fair enough, but other than that, he just doesn't seem great, to be honest. So I'll go with Jamie Mullarkey here. I'm going to say by decision. I don't think he finishes Siam. I think Siam's tough. He may finish him. He might. It just depends how Jamie Mullarkey comes out. But as I say, Jamie Mullarkey by decision there. John Phillips, but Chimaev doesn't bring the same type of fight that Jun Yong Park's going to bring, so he isn't. Jun Yong Park is a solid boxer. He has a good job and stuff. Not the biggest guy for middleweight, to be honest. Not the biggest reach either. It's 73 inches. So John Phillips probably a bigger guy, but if we're talking about athleticism, agility and stuff, the advantage goes Jun Young Park there, so it does. Jun Young Park actually surprised me, so he did in the Barriel fight. I didn't think he was going to win that fight, and then he ended up putting it on Barriel, so he did. He ended up boxing him up for a good part of that fight. So he did impress me in that fight, Jun Young Park. His boxing looked crisp, but he isn't the most powerful puncher from what I've seen. I haven't dove too much into tape for this fight, but historically speaking, from what I've seen, Jun Young Park, to me, not the biggest puncher in the world. So I do think he wins this fight, but I think he wins by decision. I don't think he finishes John Phillips, for as bad as John Phillips is. I think John Phillips weathers the adversity in this fight and manages to survive. But something worth mentioning is, because Jun Young Park isn't the most powerful striker, John Phillips is going to be in this fight for, as long as John Phillips is in this fight, he's in it, type of thing. Like, because he holds so much power, he's only one shot off finishing Jun Young Park. So, like, you know, he is a bit live here, but you're sort of relying on a haymaker just landing on the chin of Park, or Park brawn for the whole fight. Phillips obviously catching him there, but what's just put me away from betting Park here is sort of the unknowns, and obviously Phillips' power and Jun Young Park's lack of power, meaning that Phillips is live basically at any time in this fight. But saying that, I am fairly confident in Jun Young Park. I'd be very surprised if Phillips wins here. I think he gets cut off this fight. I think Jun Young Park manages to, keep the range, be in and out, not get caught by Phillips, and then gets a decision victory. So next up, good fight here. James Krause. Actually, let me just check, because they've updated the bout order. So there we go. So it's not the next fight after that. It is in my notes, but we'll just keep it the order that UFC have it. So what is the next fight? So Jillian Robertson. So Jillian Robertson versus Polyana Patello. So interesting fight here. Jillian Robertson, submission grappler. She's only 25. It feels like she's been in the UFC for very long now, so it does, for a while. Like, she's only 25. Interesting, like. So as I say, obviously Jillian Robertson, submission grappler. I believe she holds the most. I'm almost sure she holds the most submissions in women's UFC. Most submission victories in women's UFC, I'm pretty sure. I think she surpassed Ronda with the win over Courtney Casey last time, in terms of, records and stuff. So obviously a great accomplishment there. I actually rate Jillian Robertson so too, but she hasn't really improved her striking, so she's very good grappler, whether it is off her back or on bottom. She's good off her back in terms of arm bars and stuff. We've seen that in the Emily Whitmire fight. We've just seen her run through a whole lot of ladies. So 115 she used to fight at. Jesus. So she's obviously about 125 now, which suits her a lot better, to be honest. But so we've seen her run through a whole lot of ladies, as I was saying. Molly McCann, Veronica Macedo, Sarah Flota, Courtney Casey. And not the most high level of women, but Courtney Casey's good. So that's a good win right there, and that was in June. So it was. What card was that? Blades versus Volkov. So she's coming off the back of that win, so obviously a good one there. Polyana Patello hasn't fought in 16 months now, so she hasn't. And in her last fight, she looked good against Lauren Miller. She actually, whenever I first just looked at this card, Jalen Robertson came across to me as, a potential bet, but not at these odds. Maybe if she hits minus 180, something like that, but not minus 225, not nigh anyway. Because she obviously does have holes in her game, striking, namely. We seen in Batello's last fight, which when I actually went back and watched against Lauren Miller, her striking actually surprised me. With how, I didn't think it was that good. Sort of had misconceptions in my head that Batello was very bad. She's not that bad, she's decent, she's okay. She controlled Lauren Miller up against the cage and stuff in that one, and Lauren Miller couldn't get her down either. Now, one thing that we've seen in that fight is Batello slowed down big time in round 3, so she did. She lost that round. Lauren Miller really brought it on her in that one, but in her fight before that, we've seen Calvillo just run through her, so we did. And she got took down twice in that fight, and it was both off kicks, which, if you're thinking in your head, not to sound misogynic here or anything, but women's MMA and fights sometimes not great, So you're obviously thinking Poliana Botelho has to just straight up box here with very rarely leg kicks, or very rarely, kicks. If she does kick, it has to be like a quick leg kick or something, not like a roundhouse cross a body or something, or a lead switch body kick or something. None of that, because Jalen Robertson's just going to be waiting for that, as Calvillo was. And if she does give her the opportunity, Robertson's just going to drag her to the ground and sink up a sub. So she is. So you're thinking in your head, if Botelho, if she's smart about it, she just keeps a very heavy stance, very wide to prevent takedowns, and just straight up boxes Jillian Robertson, stuffing takedowns and stuff. Because if she does that, this could be a win for her here, so it might be a good live bet opportunity if she does fight very smart. But in order for her to fight like that, she has to fight very smart across 15 minutes, which, as I was saying, for some women it's just hard to do, just mental lapses and stuff. But as I was saying, Jalen Robinson, for me anyway, she's like one takedown off winning this fight. So that is a reason for me not to bet Botelho, because it's one takedown off, off a sub win. For me anyway, for Jillian Robertson. Because if she gets on top of Botelho's fucked, no joke, she's fucked. When Calvillo got her down, she ran through her like butter, so I think Robertson could do the same. So I like Robertson by sub here, but it's women's MMA. You don't want to be laying minus 250 chalk, and at the same time you don't want to be trusting a fighter who is one takedown off losing the fight, but maybe good for live betting. So Jillian Robertson by sub here ultimately. So up next, what is the next fight? So Mateusz Gamrot versus Guram Kutladze. So Mateusz Gamrot coming over from KSW. He is one of the guys that has been on the European circuit for quite a while now, and just hasn't been approached by UFC, which, you're sort of thinking, when's this guy's day gonna come? Because he's deserved it for years now. So he's deserved that call. He is as good as what people are saying, basically, is what I'm trying to say. In the Norman Park fight, he's beat him twice now. The third fight was a no contest. KSW in that one. And he's very technical striker, very patient, but powerful, so he is. He is very stout lightweight, carries good bit of explosive power, but at the same time, good cardio. And all saying that, he's been 5 rounds and stuff. I'm pretty sure didn't watch that fight, but just looking at the record here, his cardio has shown that he can last basically. And he's also a good offensive grappler. If he needs takedowns, he can hit them. Now, Guram, to be honest, I have no clue about. Haven't even watched one of his fights, so I can't tell you much about him. But just looking at his record and stuff, and the level of competition he faced, it's nothing on the level of Gamrat. So it's not, and I just think that Gamrat, he's just one of these unheard of guys, underrated guys from the European circuit. That for me, he should have been in the UFC a long time ago. And now's his chance to prove it. And I do think he gets the job done here. And I can see why he's a big favourite, so it can. He's 1-3 right now. So his odds are roughly staying about there, so -300. Fair a few people are betting him and stuff at that line, and to be honest, I can't really fault that. So I can't. But personally, as I say, I haven't dove into Guram Kutladze tape, so I can't really advise that much. But Gamrat should win here. Kutladze never been knocked out on the feet, never been finished with strikes, so Gamrat not really a known finisher. As I was saying, does have explosive power, but sometimes can lack a fight ending sequence from punches or stand up or kicks, whatever. So I'm gonna go with Gamrat by decision here. Let me just check the line. I'm pretty sure the line's been bat down, to be honest. So it's not showing us doing that weird shit again. So it has. So sharp money's obviously on it, and I'm not surprised. So I like Gamrat by decision there, but not a great. I don't have a read on Guram at all, but just judging off his record and stuff, you're thinking that Gamrat should win here. So next up is Claudio Silva. No, sorry. Thomas Almeida versus Jonathan Martinez. So this is a fight literally a couple hours ago. I got finished off taping. So Thomas Almeida coming back off 2 years and 9 months layoff, and he's staying 4 in his last 4 fights. He holds a win over in that stretch of fights over Albert Morales, who's now long gone from the UFC and doesn't even hold a win inside. Oh, he does. He holds a win over Sukantov, but I remember Morales just being just very clearly being not UFC quality at all, so he wasn't. And as you expected, Almeida knocked him out, and he put it on him, to be fair. Like he finished him. It was a late stoppage and stuff. It was in Brazil. UFC were putting that fight together, in my opinion, just as a spot where Almeida can get back after the first loss of his career against Garbrandt, and bounce back in Brazil, in his native country, as he did. But just speaking about the Garbrandt fight, he almost gets finished twice in that one. He gets dropped twice, and then the finishing sequence, it's vicious, so it is. And same as the Rob Font finish, he gets cracked with, the fight is competitive, really. Sort of Rob Font getting the better of exchanges, fair enough, but it was competitive. And then Rob Font just started second round, just hits Almeida with great right hand and ends up swarming him. But it was only one clean shot, really, for me anyway, that Almeida took there and was wobbly from it, and was fucked from it basically, and that sort of ponders the issue that Almeida may be chinny. For me, he is anyway, to be honest, because if you watch most of his fights, right, so I don't believe he get dropped against Burchik. He didn't get dropped, don't think so, against Joban. He got dropped against Brad Pickett. He dropped twice against Garbrandt. Dropped, can't remember if it's twice or once against Rivera, but he definitely does get dropped once, I remember. Rivera almost finishes him, and Rivera is not known to be, a big puncher. He's more a decision guy, so he is, Rivera. And then obviously in the Rob Font fight, just cracked with one clean shot and finished. So, it doesn't look great for Almeida, but on his day, very good technical striker, so he is. Chris boxing, good Muay Thai. Well, he does come from Muay Thai background, but he does have good hands, so he does, for a Muay Thai fighter, because you usually see these Muay Thai fighters like, let me think, like Nordine Taleb or something like that, who don't have the best boxing, but obviously great Muay Thai. Thomas Almeida is not one of these guys. Moves his head well, or does he actually? He doesn't move his head well when he, at the early stage of a fight, he does, but then he just, I don't know what it is, he freezes up a wee bit and he becomes very easy to hit. So he does, and that's why he's dropped a lot. I just think the Garbrandt fight, I just think that his chin was cracked in that fight. Bad. And he came back a wee bit too quickly against Morales, even though he did win the fight. But you have to sort of think he obviously sustained damage in camp probably, because from then on just gets dropped and stuff. But on his day, very good technical striker. Still young, 29, but you've got to wonder how he is after this long break, because it's a long time off, and you've got to wonder, one, has his chin fully recovered in that long of time, because I have seen it before, fighters come back off a long time off and their chin's better, or two, what has he been doing? I know he's had an eye injury and stuff, but what has he been adding to his game? Because it's obviously unknown that we haven't seen him fight in 2 years, 9 months. But in that time, Jonathan Martinez really cemented himself as a good, up and coming prospect. So he has trains out of Factory X. Yeah, he does. It says different breed here, but he trains out of Factory X with Zalal and stuff. So he does, I believe. So obviously, very good kicker. Fights from southpaw, good kick across the body, mixes it up well, goes up the head as we've seen against Sainz, and his best weapon is his teep. So he's going to be looking to kick in this fight. Whereas Almeida's going to be mostly looking to keep us in boxing range, as opposed to Martinez's kicking range. So it'll be interesting seeing who contests the fight in which of the opponent's preferred range. So it is. So we'll see if it's Martinez or Almeida, but Martinez does pack a lot of power, so he does, for 135, and well, this fight is a featherweight now. It's 145 actually, so it is. It says here on Topology it isn't, but if you go on the UFC website and stuff, it says 145, because Martinez coming in short notice and stuff, so he is. And you've got to think this is Thomas Almeida fight. It's going to be brawl. You've got to think some moments Jonathan Martinez is likely to catch Thomas Almeida, so he is. And Thomas Almeida's chin hasn't held up well in recent fights, obviously over 2 years, but if we're going off those fights, his chin hasn't held up well at all. And you've got to think, if Martinez lands his knee or one of his kicks, Thomas Almeida's in trouble, like, so he is, because he's proven to be not the most durable. So if I was going to pick someone, it would be Martinez, so it would, because of the layoff of Almeida, and also chin issues, really. And I don't think he's been the same since the Garbrandt fight, to be honest, because he could brutally finish in that one. I just think fights like that take years off the career and stuff. So I think maybe that's what's happened there, and it's just cracked his durability. So I like Martinez here as the dog, to be honest. But I think this will be better for live betting this one, so it will. So I'll go with Jonathan Martinez by TKO, but who knows, we may get a different Thomas Almeida where he comes back more cautious, less willing to engage in a brawl, and maybe his chin's recovered, who knows, but Martinez TKO I'll go with in the end. So next up, Claudio Silva versus James Krause. Claudio Silva plus 150 dog. You could get him, I think last week at plus 170, plus 175, which is a bit nuts. So it is, because Claudio Silva's undefeated in the UFC. He's 38 now. He has been inactive, so he has, but when he does show up, his talent's there for everyone to see, you know what I mean? He's just a jiu-jitsu ace. He relies on it a bit in his fights because his striking isn't great, and you know, he can get pieced up on the feet, as we've seen in some moments in the Danny Roberts fight and the Leon Edwards fight. He did end up winning both those fights, because he just pulls it out of the bag, so he does these wins with his jiu-jitsu and stuff. So as I say, he'll be looking to take Krause down here, so he will. And you've got to be thinking, he most likely does hit takedowns on Krause, like, in my opinion, but because Claudio Silva has took Edwards down and has took basically everyone he's fought down, so he has. Leon Edwards is known for his wrestling takedown defense, should I say, in wrestling, and Claudio Silva took him down twice in that fight and had his way with him on the ground, mounted him, stuff, almost finished him. It was a split decision win for him that one, but it should have been unanimous. Claudio Silva won that fight 29-28, but so as I'm saying, like, you know, Claudio Silva, moderate underdog here, but you've got to be thinking he's most likely going to take Krause down at some point, and when he does, he's going to be a big favourite live, so he is. Because, you know, Krause's takedown defense has improved, so it has, but something about Claudio Silva, like, he has, I guess, old man strength where he just forces these guys to the mat and makes them fight in his world, so he does. And as I'm saying, it's most likely to happen, so it is. But if we just look at Krause's recent wins and his record and stuff, we've seen him fight similar fighters to Claudio Silva before, and Sergio Moraes and Wardy Alves. Tonked Lehu a bit, but in a fight where James Krause's takedown defense didn't hold up, it was a Jesse Taylor fight, but Jesse Taylor's a wrestler, you know what I mean? Even though Claudio Silva, wrestling's decent for a jiu-jitsu guy, so it is. He does have takedowns. He's trained at ATT, so he's always improving his takedowns in his wrestling game. Training with the likes of Mark Henry and stuff, and what do you call it? So James Krause's main path to victory in this fight, keep the fight on the feet, as he did in the Galejo fight, Wardy Alves, Sergio Moraes, but none of those three have as good as takedowns as Claudio Silva for me anyway. Sergio Moraes, he's shot, so he is, and James Krause, it was fairly obvious that James Krause was going to win that fight because Sergio Moraes, he's never really had takedowns, so he hasn't at all in his career really, and you know, he just put it on. He just put it on Sergio Moraes on the feet, so he did, and he ended up finishing him. Same with Willie Alves couldn't get him down, and James Krause just really brought it to him on the feet. He ends up hitting him with a big knee at the start or midway through the second round, and ends up knocking him out. But if you listen to some of James Krause's interviews and stuff, he's more content with being a coach now, which is a bit of a worrying sign. Because you can't really be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, 1 foot in this game. It's never a good sign. When a fighter starts talking like that, they're most likely on the tail end of their career, and also stacking up the losses and stuff. Going down the path of losing and stuff. But in my opinion, James Krause deserved the decision against Trevin Giles. That was a bad one in my opinion. I thought he won it because in round 1 he has the back of Giles for the whole round, and the deciding judge that decided the whole fight actually gave Giles that first round, even though Krause had Giles' back for 4 minutes in that one, which is crazy. But James Krause jiu-jitsu, very good jiu-jitsu black belt, hard to finish. Jesse Taylor did finish him, but that was way back in 2017. Jesse Taylor, he's very good grappler, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but he's popped for steroids and stuff, so he has Jesse Taylor. So Jesse Taylor most likely fought that fight while on PEDs against Krause, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, and that's maybe why Krause could finish. But to be honest, I can see this fight just going Claudio Silva hitting takedowns on Krause. It's either two things happening: Claudio Silva gets a finish, or Krause ends up surviving the top game of Claudio Silva and ends up putting it on Claudio Silva in rounds 2 and 3 with his durability, because he does have endless cardio, and with his just veteran savvy. He's hard to finish, so he is, James Krause. Trevin Giles couldn't even put him out up at 185, who is a powerful puncher, and he wasn't really dropping Krause or anything, even though he was hitting him clean. And Krause came in on 1 day's notice and stuff for that fight. And apart from the Jesse Taylor fight, he hasn't get subbed since 2010, so he hadn't, James Krause, apart from the Jesse Taylor fight obviously. But so value say for me is Claudio Silva. It's a 50-50 fight, but I know a lot of people like ACAs and stuff, and maybe doing ACAs off the picks in the video or whatever, or my picks I put out. But Claudio Silva, as I say, plus 150, he is the value set here if you were going to play it. But I can just see, as I was saying, the latter happening of James Krause surviving and then really outwilling Claudio Silva, getting took down first round, whatever, surviving the top game, smashing at times, and then Claudio Silva just being wrecked because his cardio, it isn't great. Like we've seen that in the Roberts fight, Leon Edwards fight. He slows down if he doesn't get them out of there, and he is getting older, so he is. Claudio Silva 38 now. James Krause is 34. So as I was saying, I think James Krause probably does survive submission attempts and really puts it on Claudio Silva late. I'll say by decision because Claudio Silva hasn't been proven to be chinny yet. So I'll go with James Krause by decision there. So next up, Modestas Bukauskas versus Jimmy Crute. This Bukowski's, who I bet tipped the members in the Andres Michailidis fight in his lone UFC appearance, his debut there back in, what was that, July? He TKO'd Michailidis at the end of the first round with elbows, and that's been his method of victory in the last two fights against Ricardo Nosalija. He did the same thing. You know, these fighters, they hold on for double legs too long against Bukowskis, and then he ends up Travis Brown elbowing him, so he does, up against the cage and puts him out. And it happens quickly. It doesn't take many elbows for obviously the impact of the strikes to affect the opponent, and ends up putting him out. So he's obviously packing a good bit of power there from a short distance. So he is with those elbows. So he's coming up against Jimmy Crute here. Jimmy Crute coming off the win against Mikhail Olachechuk, who he tapped out in the first round with the Kimura. He just took him down and he just dominated him on the ground. You know, he didn't give Olachechuk any space at all in that fight and just got the better of him. So Jimmy Crute, he is a submission grappler, decent wrestling for, you know, not a guy that comes from one of these big camps like in America or Dagestan or being a high school wrestler. He does have good takedowns. For not being one of those guys, I think he's taken down everyone in the UFC apart from Sam Alvey, I want to say. So he has, and most likely he does take Bukowski's down here. So he does it most likely, but as I was saying, if he hangs on double leg too much, especially if he doesn't get Bukowski's out there early and, you know, ends up shooting double legs in the second round or whatever, if he hangs on them for too long, Bukowski's he can just hammer them down. Or just do his traditional finishing elbows that he's been implementing recently in his last two fights. That's something he can work. But Jimmy Crute, for me anyway, he does slow down a wee bit, so he does. I think he slowed down a wee bit in the Paul Craig fight, from memory, that is. If he can't get the quick finish, because he's a quick starter, so he is. He doesn't play any games, he just goes in there, balls to the wall and just goes for the quick finish by getting these guys down and just either ground and pound them out or going for the Kimura, which he's got 2 wins from submissions in the UFC or whatever. Arm triangle. But if you're looking at the lane's far too wide for me, so it is. He's minus 370 favourite here. I don't think that's justified, to be honest, so I don't. Fair enough, he may be more likely to win, Jimmy Crute, but that's a crazy lane, because if you just fire that in the implied probability calculator, minus 370 means that bookies are giving Jimmy Crute a 78% chance of winning this fight. So almost 80% chance of winning this fight, which is a bit mad. So it is. Because fair enough, Bukowskis can get taken down, but he's working on that side of his game, obviously with the elbows. I'm pretty sure it's this fight. I watched it a good while ago, but Nelson was taking him down, Nielsen, and then he was getting back up and stuff. Pretty sure that is the fight I watched, Cage Warriors Light Heavyweight title one. And you know, he was getting back up from the ground and working his striking game, because he is a rangy kickboxer. That's his forte. He really looks to work out in his fights, and that's where his wheelhouse is. So if Jimmy Crute can't get him out of there, for me anyway, like he's he's in trouble in rounds 2 and 3 because Crute has shown to slow down a wee bit, in my opinion. And because for me, he's just too much of an underdog. I think the line's off. It's not like I'm going to play him, but I think it'd be good for live betting because Crute does start quick. So if anything, his odds are actually more likely to go down live at the start anyway. So he might have a good round 1, and then rounds 2 and 3 he might slow down, and Bukowskis can really take over the fight because for light heavyweight he does have very good cardio. Seen that in Nelson fight. Nelson was trying to take him down for 4 rounds, and then Bukowskis working back up from the ground, and then just ends up knocking him out on the feet. And that was in a obviously title fight. In championship rounds he got the finisher. So I do like Bukowskis, so I do. I think he's a good fighter. He's very technical kickboxer. He's good to watch. The line's off for me, but if I'm gonna choose one, like gun to the head, it would be Jimmy Crute. But as I say, value side, big time is on Modestas Bukowskis. But I will go with Jimmy Crute by subber just for the pick. Alright, so if we just move on to the co-main event here. So this is the new co-main event. Cyril Gane versus Ante Delija has been removed from the card due to contract issues on the UFC's part with Delija, but nevertheless we'll look into Duke again here. So she's coming off against the win against the sister of Valentina Shevchenko, Antonina Shevchenko, where she really worked her grappling game and just took Antonina down at any spot she could, just to really dominate her on the ground, almost get a finish and stuff throughout the fight, and just looked good in that fight. She showed she has a more of a well-rounded game than we have seen before, to be honest. Caitlin isn't a bad grappler. Pretty sure, I want to say she's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, or maybe black. She may be a black belt, actually, saying that. So she's better grappler than she gets credit for, but to be honest, I can't see this fight being contested on the ground, to be honest. Jessica's just going to do the same stuff she's done every other fight in the UFC. Why would she change it up now? She's going to come forward like the women's version of Wanderlei Silva. Just come forward swinging hooks, like bombs, as she does. And either it works out for her or it doesn't work out. So basically in her last 4 fights, it's worked out for her twice, and in her 2 most recent fights, it has failed twice. So she is coming up off the loss against Rose. Don't know how that was split decision. Very clearly, should have been an unanimous decision win for Rose in that one. I scored it for 29-28, I believe. Given round 3 to Andrade. She did come on strong late, but Rose was slowing down and stuff by that point. And Andrade just, never ending cardio really, just coming forward like a marauder. She ended up catching Rose and stuff, but obviously in the Zhang fight it didn't work out. She got knocked out in the first round. And why would she change her style up now? She's moving to a new division, yes, but she's not gonna just have a career, renaissance where she changes up her style out of nowhere. She hasn't moved camp or anything, she's just moving up 10 pounds. And to me, the odds aren't justified on why Andrade should be the favourite. Yes, she did look good in round 3 against Rose, but to be honest, her style is just, in my opinion anyway, Andrade's style has just evolved. Like, the sport has evolved Andrade's style, so it has. I just don't really believe she can get away with it against the better girls of either 115, 125, or even she used to fight at 135, but that was way back in the day. So Um, as I was saying, I don't think her style can really work against the upper echelons of these women's divisions, because Chukagian, she's going to fight smart, she's going to fight long, she's going to use every inch of that 68-inch reach and the massive leg reach that she'll have over Jessica Andrade. She's 5'9" is Chukagian, whereas Andrade is 5'1", very small for even strawweight, never mind flyweight. And Chukagian's one of probably the biggest strawweight fighter there is. So massive size advantage here, and it's going to become apparent even at the weigh-ins, where money may come in on Chukagian just straight away after that. But to me, Chukagian's going to fight long, smart, as she does in every fight, and really utilise her reach and length just to keep Andrade at bay. How you beat Andrade, fight long and just work your jab, as Joanna did, as Rose just done twice really. And then just, not let Andrade in the pocket with these bombs that she has in her hands. If you mitigate that out of her game, she's not really going to get far, to be honest, Andrade. She might get the lucky Hail Mary suplex slam that she did in the first Rose fight, where she ended up KOing her for a map, but she was losing that fight up to that point, in my opinion anyway. So obviously Chukagian, underrated striker. She doesn't really get in trouble on the feet, so she doesn't. She's never in a dangerous position where she gets caught, and I don't expect her against Andrade to get caught in this occasion, to be honest. I don't. I think this fight will be similar to how the Jennifer Maia fight was. So I do, where Maia was coming forward and just couldn't really break the rhythm of Chukagian, the movement or length. Just really had trouble closing distance, and I think it's just going to be the exact same here, even more so probably, because Andrade is even smaller than Maia, do you know what I mean? So I think the odds are off here, to be honest. Yes, Andrade is good. She's decent. She is good. She former women's strawweight champion, but to me anyway, her style's been evolved. The sport has sort of surpassed her style, where she can just get away with not being very technical and relying on her chin, her power and stuff. Same thing happened to Vanderlei, you know what I mean? The sport just evolved that type of style. But saying that, if Andrade come out here and hits takedowns at the start of every round, maybe she might work decision victory. But even that, I can't say, because Caitlyn's very underrated grappler, good jiu-jitsu. If Jessica does get her down, Caitlyn's just going to be throwing up heel hook attempts, leg locks from the bottom, like she did against Maia at the end of round 3, when Maia eventually got her down. And then she'll probably end up in top position. So I like this fight everywhere for Caitlyn, to be honest, apart from obviously in the pocket, right in close against Andrade. I think the odds are off, to be honest. So I like Caitlyn here by decision. I can't see her finishing Andrade at all, to be honest. So main event, 10th takes Ortega versus Chan Sung Jung, a Korean zombie. You might have seen my tweet earlier, Chan Sung Jung versus Volkanovski 2021. I think it's going to happen. I just think that even at this late stage of his career, Korean zombie he looks as good as he's ever looked, which is nuts, because he had to go away for mandatory enlistment to the South Korean army and stuff, and then he comes back better. So he does, after 4 years against Dennis Bermudez, puts him out in round 1, ends up losing to Yair, but that was he was 1 second off winning that fight. Knocks out Moicano, I bet Korean zombie in that fight, knocked him out in less than a minute, and then finishes Edgar, and not many people finish Edgar. So I was impressed with him in that fight, and You know, Chan Sung Jung, he's just a legend, but he's coming up against Ortega. Ortega hasn't fought in 2 years now. It's come up 2 years. And if you listen to interviews and stuff, it doesn't come off well for Ortega. You know, major red flags right away. He talked about like after or before the Holloway fight and the lead up to it and stuff. He thought he was basically like a rock star, so he did. He's like living a rock star life. He wasn't really training. He was, you know, he was always on the road doing media and stuff rather than actually training full time and, you know, being like a gym rat. He wasn't really doing that. He was, as he says, his favourite place was airplanes and hotels, which was his quote. That was his second home, something like that. Which never a good look to be like coming across as that and admitting that. But it is what it is. He's just being honest. Fair play to him, but it's not really something you want to be saying coming up against the Korean Zombie, like, who's in prime of his career. Even though he's 33, I think he's as best as he's ever been, to be honest. Korean Zombie, he's really putting it together on the feet, so he is. He's knocking these guys out. He's confidence in his power, and he's just, you know, he's a bad man, like, so he is. Korean Zombie, I like him, very good. I think he's underrated, to be honest. I think he's going to give Ortega serious problems here. Serious problems, because in the last fight we seen Ortega just pieced up by Holloway. He couldn't get Holloway to the ground, and Holloway was actually even taunting him throughout the fight, like telling him to put his hands up and stuff, while just, you know, beating the head of him. Which just shows you, like, that could never happen to a Korean Zombie. And, you know, we're at this point of the sport where you can't get away with stuff like that. Brian Ortega he can't really get away with his subpar striking, especially in regards to title contention fights and title eliminators such as this. You know, you just see it eventually. These one-trick ponies eventually end up getting caught out. So they. And Ortega, he's not the biggest one-trick pony in the world, but style's limited, so it is. If he doesn't get Korean Zombie down here, he's in for a long night, so he is. And that is reflected in the odds. So it is. In Ortega's last fight, as I say, he absorbed the most strikes ever in a fight. I believe 290 strikes, so it was, before doctor stoppage at the start of round 5. And, you know, he probably was going to be finished there, like, but he does have a serious chin on him, Ortega. So it remains to be seen whether Korean Zombie will just come out and finish him straight away. Maybe an accumulation of strikes or whatever, but you know, if we're just looking at the odds, I think the odds are justified, to be honest. Like, I think it's fairly clear how his fight's going to go, to be honest. The, you know, sharp batters and hardcores in the sport. It's just a deadly fight for Ortega to come back 2 year layoff, rockstar lifestyle, stylistic matchup. Not in favour of him against one of the hardest, you know, fighters in the division, Chan Sung Jung. He's just going to stuff the takedowns. Then he's just going to end up taking your head off, so he is. And Ortega, you know, hasn't really demonstrated a good takedown game, so he hasn't. He's one of these crazy guys who pulls guard and stuff, jumping guillotines, and stuff of that nature. He hadn't really put together a well documented wrestling game, so can't see him taking Korean Zombie down here, who after all these years, he's at the prime of his career. I think he's going to finish Ortega, so I think he's going to knock him out on the feet, most likely, or clubbing sub, maybe. Probably TKO, like, obviously, but I think he hurts Ortega, so and just finishes him. I just don't think Ortega's striking is up to par with Chan Sung Jung's. And as I say, Volkanovski versus Chan Sung Jung 2021. That's my prediction anyway. So we'll leave it at that. So thanks for listening. Twitter's in the description if you want to DM me about membership inquiries. And I will be back for Khabib versus Gaethje, the big one. See you then.